Hey, it's Richard here. There are a couple of audio issues on this episode of We're Not Wizards that happened due to circumstances beyond our control. We decided to run with it because it was still an excellent little chat that we had with David, and we hope that that doesn't put you off too much. But sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host this evening, and joining me tonight is a gentleman by the name of David Newton. Now, we've spoken about David Newton quite a few times because recently he kickstarted a game called Temp Worker Assassins. And at the time, me and a gentleman by the name of Sam Turner spoke about it. And then we've been keeping a kind of a track on the campaign as it went, and it was successfully funded. And then later on, well, a couple of weeks ago, myself and the wonderful Paddy Smith actually had an in-depth conversation about Temp Worker Assassins. So joining me tonight is David Newton. Hello, David.
Hello there.
Are you well?
I am, yes. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm delighted to have you on. This is kind of like it's almost like I've been speaking to all of your family before I've actually been speaking to you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've been listening. It's been nice. So thank you.
So we've kind of been bigging you up. But this is to talk about you because you have not had your chance in the spotlight, and we thought it was time to actually get you on and have a chat. And we've been having kind of conversations back and forward on Facebook for I think it was when the campaign kind of started up.
Yeah,
I think, which was a long time ago now. Now, for anybody that's not listened to us before, the reason that we do this is because there's not enough podcasts about board games. There isn't, because I've checked. There definitely isn't, so you don't have to check either. And the other reason that we do this is, well, I'd like to tell you, but I'd probably have to kill you. Because that's the theme of tonight. It's all about temporary working, and it's all about assassinations. But before we dive into that, what we like to do is to have a little chat about how people actually got involved in the cardboard wonder. So, Dave, do you want to... first of all, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
Secondly, do you want to tell us a little bit about your history with the old destroyed trees, basically?
Yeah, well, hopefully I haven't destroyed too many trees, but yeah, I've been playing board games since I was a teenager, since I was at university, and so I started playing, let's say when I was at university. I think Magic the Gathering hooked me originally, and then ever since then, since I moved to Manchester, I joined a local sort of board gaming group and at Fanboy 3, and I've been playing ever since. So yeah, I just absolutely just adore board games.
So what's out of the stuff that you're playing, is there anything? You've mentioned Magic, which is one of the games that we don't mention because we don't like Magic because of Bryan Wade. And he's getting a shout out this week because we've not given Bryan Wade abuse for some time. But in terms of card games and stuff like that, is there any other games that you would say have kind of you picked up in your history that you really, really enjoy that's kind of influenced what you did with Temp Worker Assassins?
Yeah, so there's been a number of games. So Dominion was the first sort of card game or deck building game that I played, and I played several expansions of that, and that's a truly fabulous game. It's one of my all-time favourite deck building games. Like worker placement games, like Agricola, Caverna, or Lords of Waterdeep, etc. They're some of my favourites as well.
Okay. Is there anything that you've played? Well, okay, let's backtrack a bit. Dominion, because one of the things we like to do at We're Not Wizards is we like to kind of introduce people to the concept of games that they haven't played, or maybe haven't touched, or even considered before, because it's one of these main staples that people hear about, and there's a lot of assumption that people know what it's about. But for the peeps listening at home just now, what is Dominion about?
Dominion is essentially trying to buy as much land as you could possibly can. You start off with just some small coppers in your deck and a few estates, and each turn you start off with you draw a new hand of 5 cards, and you use the money in your hand to buy like a village or a festival, and then that goes in your deck, and then you can use that to acquire more and more cards, which eventually allow you to buy provinces and estates and things like that, which give you victory points at the end of the game. So it's a relatively simple concept, but but the strategies are very, very deep in that game. It's very well created.
Have you got your own set of Dominion?
I've got the base game, Seaside, and Prosperity.
Oh, cool. Okay. So when did you start playing with that? Was that one of the first games that you got your hands on?
That was probably one of the first games. Probably what I'd class as a modern board game. I just didn't do anything for 2 days since somebody introduced me to that. That's all I wanted to do.
Was it like a World of Warcraft type scenario where you were just like locked into a room? Where I suppose you were probably locked in a room with a group of people, which can either be a good thing or a bad experience depending where you are. But you should just play it 2 days solid.
So the first I was playing till I think something like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I had to go to work.
Really? Alright, so it wasn't even like student days, it was kind of like, oh, well, we can get one more game in.
It was.
What time is it?
It's only 1:30. 1:30, come on.
At 9 o'clock it's fine, I can just sneak in a quarter past.
And then you do that justification where you say, well, if I go to bed in half an hour, I can still get 4.5 hours sleep, which is better than nothing.
If I drive to work, I can squeeze out another game. It was one of those. And then as soon as I finished work, I was straight round to my friend's house and for another session. I think I collapsed after that.
Did you go to any support groups to talk to people about your kind of issues with Dominion, your Dominion problem? And how other people could overcome it, because it sounds like you got in quite deep. I really wish there was a support group, something perhaps something that can wean me off to maybe a smaller card game, And maybe in a community hall or something like that, you just stand up and you say, I've got 2 base games, and I've got all the expansions, and I've got a copy of all the expansions, and they're sealed, and they're in my cupboard, and nobody's allowed to even look at them, kind of thing. But Dominion's it's card game. It sounds like worker placement and the kind of the card games were your kind of game of choice. Is that in your kind of your history? Is that kind of the ones that you've always kind of been drawn to?
So my 2 favourite mechanics, anything in which I get to place a guy on an action space is normally something that I'm happy doing. I'll play that all day long. So those are my 2 favourite mechanics, and that's why I started creating Temp Worker Assassins, because I wasn't aware of a game that combined both of them really. So I just wanted to see if one existed. Couldn't find one, so I thought I'd have a go at creating one.
Have you got anything that you're playing at the moment that you like to get to the table on a regular basis, or has Temp Worker Assassins just kind of taken over your life for the last couple of years?
Yeah, so luckily my play group are a lovely group of people, and they're always willing to play test something that I'm working on before we play another game on a game night. So we meet most Fridays.
Okay, what are you playing? Have you played anything recently that's kind of grabbed you by the tail feathers and made you smile?
Yes,
it's a terrible phrase.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, it's the worst one, and I'm gonna edit it out through absolute shame. I'm only joking. No, but anything, seriously, any kind of games that you've been playing recently that have kind of, you've thoroughly enjoyed? Yeah,
so one of my friends really loves Japanese themed games, and every year I try and get him something that he would like. So this year I bought him Lotus.
All right, okay.
Which is it's such an aesthetically pleasing game. So we had a quick game last Friday because we're currently playing all the games that we got for Christmas that we haven't had time to play.
All right, yeah.
Well, it's February, so
yeah.
I'm in the same situation myself, so it's all fine. But what's Lotus about? What do you do in it?
So Lotus, you start off with a selection of flower petals, and the aim of the game is to make a complete flower. And if you do, you gain the points, and some are easy to make, and some only require 3 petals, some require 7. So each turn you can either play, I think it's up to 2 petals on an individual flower, or you can draw cards and do other things. But the way that you place flowers is you place them in like a star formation. So if you imagine like a card. Like a normal playing card, and you place it down, and then somebody else will play it on it, but slightly turned, so like a clock, and then you actually make like a flower from the petals that you put down. But it's a very, it really looks really nice. So I really enjoyed playing that.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at images on it just now, and it's quite, the artwork is quite watercolor kind of based. But the graphics on it it's as you say, that the kind of the cards are weird because you don't have a direct you don't seem to have like a direct angle on the flowers. You are making petals, and you're quite right, it is almost like making a card. It's like making a kind of a flower out of cards. It's very, very, very pretty looking. So how many times have you played that? Did you get quite a lot of games of that?
No. We have a tendency just to play one game and then move on a particular game night. So, but I'm the type of person that gets horribly addicted to games, and we'll just sit there and play 20 games after a row if anybody will, play with me.
And what's the last game that you got horrifically addicted to, apart from obviously Dominion?
Oh wow! Alien Frontiers.
Okay.
With dice rolling in space. I invited several different friends round every night to try and play that. When I started playing that was and I really enjoyed playing that one as well. Something about.
Is it just like hard? Do you just go 100% hardcore when you're kind of playing? It's like, nope, stop, don't let anybody out. Occasionally, there's just like a game that I just love playing and I just can't stop playing. So, yeah. That's very cool. So you're deciding on a game. So let's talk about the genesis of Temp Worker Assassins, because it's the reason why we're here. Now, I've got a few questions in my head that I want to ask you about, and I've probably been meaning to ask you for some time now, because you said, like, on the bio on the site, you've said that this was in the making for 3 years.
Yeah.
Which in board game time probably is about maybe a little bit longer than some, but it's probably about average. So where did you first get the inspiration for Temp Worker Assassins? Where did that come from?
Oh, right, okay, so I suppose the mechanics came from, I was talking to one of my friends in a car, and I was just throwing some ideas around that I really wish that there was a deck building worker placement game out there. And then, so just talking it through with him, and then went home and started throwing ideas around, and then one day I was at work, and it was after a particularly heavy night out. There's like an office party and a joint birthday or something like that. And
Were you hanging a bit?
I wasn't. I was really good. I went out and had like 2 Coca-Colas and like was in bed for 8:30.
Were you like the annoying one that came breezing into the office? Morning.
Yeah, like skipping in with like donuts,
I got you a coffee, and I got you some really loud music.
it was yeah, that's quite accurate. I mean, everybody just started crawling in and was feeling a little bit worse for wear, and I started sort of thinking about office zombies and everything like that, and
right, okay.
So that's sort of so the typing pool zombie was the first idea that I came around, and there was at the time there was like a stationary amnesty, I guess, where they were just like asking for anybody who had old folders or anything like that, because they were doing a big recycling drive.
Yeah.
And I said, all these like old folders and things like that are perfect for making prototypes for games. There was cards and there was paper and everything like that. So I asked nicely if I could have some, and this obviously said yes, and that's how I got the idea of stealing was a bad word, acquiring stationery.
Theft, David. It's called theft. There's not a lawyer in the land that would get you off.
Yeah, if anybody from work is listening, I'd just like to say that it was, everything was above board and everything like that, and it was going to be recycled, and I did use it. So
You've got signed stuff in triplicate by Mr. S. Cupboard. So you actually physically had stuff, and you went, all right. So I've kind of liberated this from the admin oppressors of our office.
Yeah.
and viva la revolution.
Absolutely, the worst revolution in history.
And you decided, right, I'm going to make something. I'm going to take a negative thing, and I'm going to turn it into something positive.
Yeah, that's essentially it. Yeah.
So you had all this material, and then did you just run home and then start making stuff, or what happened next?
Yeah, so I got home and I started like just creating a deck of stationery cards. So I started like drawing like scissors and rulers on some card, and then I thought, okay, this is a deck, and then I started thinking, okay, so what do I use with these if I'm killing them? So I started searching the internet for like sort of clip art of like, I don't know, like a zombie typing or an elf doing paperwork or something like that, to see if there's anything I could find, and then made a very, very rough and ready prototype and took it from there really, and then it's just been playtesting and tweaking and ever since.
But where's the fantasy setting coming up? Because that was the thing that kind of, when I first read it, I went, okay, this could be quite cool. It could be you're just going into an office full of like people that are really quite not very nice. And then I started to see the pictures of the art, and I was like, zombies and giants and elementals, and I mean, what made you decide to take it down the fantasy office route? Like, there's a fantasy office, but the fantasy office route instead of kind of like the, I guess, kind of keeping it kind of a foundation in kind of real life.
Yeah, so I wanted the game to be sort of light-hearted and fun, and not to be taken too seriously. And so I didn't want to encourage actual murder. I didn't want that on my conscience. I have to sleep at night. So,
I suppose that he's actually killed his boss. Why? Well, is that game over there?
I mean, yeah, I just wouldn't live with that. No, but yeah. So I thought. I thought the idea of like stealing stationery and using it as makeshift weapons. I thought it just doesn't sound like a real life situation. So I thought I'd make it a bit more fanciful, and it just sort of fit. We'll throw a few ideas around, and that just seemed to work.
So, how long were you in? How long did it take to get from kind of like the normal kind of white pieces of paper and little cubes and stuff like that, which, you know, is in every kind of game designer's cupboard, to kind of having something that you were playing with your friends? How long was the gestation period?
Yeah, it was only like less than a month before I had a prototype that I was willing to, share with friends and have a play around with. I think it takes very little time to get a game 60% done, but it takes years to get the other 40%.
I think I've heard. I mean, some people get lucky with kind of like the first iteration of the game and what the final iteration of the game is. I think there's a lot of people that run their Kickstarters which are they're putting out a game they're happy with, but it's not necessarily, as you say, the kind of the original. It's pretty close to what they had envisaged, but it's maybe not kind of.
Oh yeah, there's
a big change.
So the final version, I mean, it had a board. There was money you could steal from a kitty. So there was other components as well. Like so there was So there was a lot of different versions of the game. And it took years to get right, and then there was blind play testing and sending it off for official reviews and that sort of thing. So it was a lot of work, but it was very rewarding and a lot of fun.
How difficult was? I mean, you've got, like you said, you had a board. So was that a conscious decision, or was that something that was kind of like had to get removed in a kind of a kicking and screaming kind of conversation? Because I imagine that's a massive component to get rid of as part of a game. Is you have a conversation about do we have this size of card, or do we have bigger sizes of card? And I think getting rid of a board is a pretty big kind of game changer for a lot of things. Was that?
That's a really good question. So, I originally, when I first created it, the office that you went in was static. It was just a board, and it didn't really change. There was the game, and you just played it. So there was no sort of replayability. So what I wanted to do was, so I've moved them into just departments. So you actually create the board yourself using the cards. So you create like a 3x3 office using the different department cards, and there's 32 different cards you can choose from. There are starting departments, to be fair, and there are 32 random departments, and you choose 5 of them. So there's, I did the maths once, and there's over 200,000 different combinations you can have to set up. So it's no two games are alike. So that's one of it was a conscious decision to make the game modular rather than static.
Let's talk about Adam.
Yes.
Where did you get him from? Did you just? I mean, was it lucky? Did you dig a pit and cover it with branches or something like that? Because his artwork.
Oh, it's good, isn't
it?
Really
makes the game.
Yeah, no, I cannot sing his praises enough. I used to live with Adam. I went to university with him. We was both at Lancaster, and so we just kept in touch. And I said, you're an artist, and I've got a project. You want to work together and see what happens? And yeah, he's done such an amazing job. I think one of the main things that really works is he also plays games. So when it came to things like laying out the rules, or where to put action spaces on cards and that sort of thing, he already got a lot of that. So it was just absolutely a joy working with him.
Because the stuff, I mean, the imagination that's gone into a lot of the artwork really, really, really good. And it was, I know it was definitely it was definitely something that, me and Paddy talked about. It was something that me and Sam Turner kind of spoke about as well, and it was something that was like, just seeing the artwork itself was, have a look, guys. If you listen to this, go and check out the site and just have a look at some of Adam's work, because it is very, very good. Has he done anything else at all? I mean, has this helped? Has he looked at doing any other games at all, as far as you're aware, or is he like an illustrator for a living, or does he do something else?
He's got a day job, but he's worked mainly in comic books.
All right, okay.
So he did a wonderful children's picture book, storybook. He did all the art for that, called "Where's My Shoggoth?" And it's a Cthulhu-based children's book, which is really good. Yeah, check it out.
Oh, you'll need to give us the link to that so we can put it in the show notes, because we have to get word that like that out there. No, it's just, I mean, it's I've got the box kind of in front of me, and I mean, it's just everything from the kind of, even the zombie pool workers that probably do look like your colleagues after that kind of heavy night out, kind of no coffee kind of thing. I mean, all the way to kind of like, was it, you've got the, I'm just gonna, well, the different characters. Just have a look at the art. Buy the game, for goodness sake. Let's, treat yourself. But okay. But that did lead to a kind of a comment that I made in the podcast that you did you think about kind of making the cards a bigger size then, to kind of show off what more of the artwork itself, because it is a really, really good handy sized kind of game, and it fits all nice and snugly in the box, but you could easily take it away with you in a much smaller bag if you wanted to. So did you think about having bigger card sizes for the artwork?
Yeah, so I mean that's a really interesting question. So I guess it's just a balance between, like you say, getting it into one small box, and as a first Kickstarter, it was just something that. But I'd love to do a deluxe version of the game one day, and have bigger cards and things like that. So absolutely, yeah.
Was it a conscious decision to have to? I take it, obviously the bigger cards mean bigger budgets and bigger production costs and stuff like that.
I think it was more sort of simplicity, really.
Okay.
So it was easier to design and easier to make, really. There's lots of things that I'd love to have done, given an infinite budget and infinite time. But
okay, well, that's an interesting question then. If there was anything that you could change, or even two things that you could change about the kind of the current version of Temp Worker Assassins that's out there, is there anything that you would like to see slightly differently, from a personal point of view, obviously, that you would like to see maybe you would do slightly differently?
Yeah, so I mean, like I say, bigger cards for the targets would be one of them. The second one, I'd really love to do. The department cards that you make the office.
Yes.
I would really like to make those 3D, like in wood. So the department cards look like you're actually building a 3-dimensional office space, and so or like a wooden base. So
okay.
So it's like a raised office, something like that.
So it's something you would put the cards on top of in order to kind of make a little kind of mini office block kind of thing.
No, I'd replace the departments with like wooden blocks. So
really,
or like in have you played like Small World?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you know the races you can select?
Yes, yeah,
So
they're on nice little kind of
Yeah, so
tokens and stuff like that. Yeah,
I'd like to make the departments out of that. So that you actually make a physical, like sort of wooden or chipboard board office.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that would be really nice. But then you're that's obviously increasing production costs there, and I want to try and get it as cheap as possible for everybody without cutting on quality. So.
When you had when you done your prototype, when Adam kind of got involved and was drawing everything, and you had a final version, what made you decide Kickstarter? I mean, did you approach publishers first of all to see if they would take up the game, or was the plan to always hit Kickstarter from the off?
Yeah, so I approached a couple of games companies and had a few discussions, but I think we just wanted because we've been working on it for so long, we just wanted to keep it ours, but it's I guess working on something for such a long period of time, we just wanted to release it ourselves, I guess. So.
Okay, and so. You go out. I mean, it must have been over you go out to put it on Kickstarter. Was there a plan? Did you have marketing plans? Did you, obviously it sounded like you were getting it kind of out and about and try to get people to actually sit down and play the game, as as Sam Turner said. You kind of turned up beside his table and said, "Would you like to play a game?" But not like Frozen.
Yes.
But that would have been cool though, eh? You would have got but you probably would have then been surrounded by kind of like 7 and 8 year old kids wanting you to sing something else, so that would have probably worked at all.
Yeah, just as well. So no, there's a number of things I did. So I sent it off for reviews. So the Board Gaming Hut, and so you can play that game, and I think the Quarantine. So I got some official video reviews done. I took it to the UK Games Expo and went into the playtest area, and I got into the final of the Women's Lair. The book.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I know, I've heard of that. That was Duncan Malloy that was on the show. He was part of the panel. He's been on the panel for that. And also Kevin Young that did Legends Untold. He was on the Wyvern's Lair as well. How did you get on with that?
Yeah, it was good. I got some really good feedback, and it was nice presenting to talk to people in the industry, and got some good advice, and so that was a really positive experience.
Cool. So you launched the game, and then you asked for $5,000, and you made like 4 times that.
Yeah, it was really nice. So we just wanted the bare minimum to essentially do a first print run, and then we got that in the first week, it was just, the response was just absolutely lovely. It was selected by Kickstarter as a project we love, so we unlocked I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stretch goals. So we added an extra 28 cards in the game, which was really, really nice, and it's been more than I expected, but it's been lovely.
I mean, I noticed that you're now selling it on Amazon.
Yeah. So 25 quid free delivery.
They should plug it, exactly. Just thought get some, come and get some today. But that's rubbish. That
was
absolutely terrible. Do you fancy kind of murdering fantasy creatures in an office to do with stationery? Then get Temp Worker Assassins. I mean, me and Paddy just really liked it. I mean, it's very, very simple to pick up, and you can definitely see the influences on both the deck building side of things and also the worker placement side of things as well. And that, I mean, it's one of these. It's not. It's kind of like my kids have played it, because I mean I think kids should get involved in the land of killing fantasy creatures as quickly as they can. I think they've got to prepare for the future when they might have to they might have to fight for survival. I mean, obviously you're teaching the value of maths and English, and I'm while my son and daughter kind of sneak up behind you and steal your food before breaking your legs.
Again, I want to stress the violence is all towards fantasy creatures.
I know that. I'm only pulling your leg, but it's very, very easy to kind of pick up and play. I mean, if you had the type of feedback that you've had now that after it's launched, because you can send it to kind of like professional reviewers, and they'll have a very, very professional review type eye on it. And me and Paddy have played it, and we've kind of got more of an amateur kind of view and viewing things when we played it. I've still to play it with Colin, and so me and Colin will probably have a quick chat and catch up about it as well. But I mean, if you had kind of any comments from people kind of slightly off the kind of the gaming spectrum of things.
Yeah, so there was sorry, what do you mean by off the gaming spectrums?
As in people you wouldn't say normally kind of you would associate playing lots and lots of board games. More of the kind of the casual gamers.
Oh yeah. So it's been really nice. It's so it's I've had some lovely feedback about how easy it is to set up and quick to pick up, because there's only really two actions you can make. There's like, do I occupy an apartment and steal stationery, or do I attempt an assassination? So but once you start playing, you realise there's a little bit more than that, because there's an element of push your luck, and an element of deck building, an element of blocking your opponents in spaces that they might want to go to. So it's been lovely, really.
That's kind of what we like. That's what I kind of liked about it myself, was the fact that I could teach somebody to play it relatively quickly within about 15 minutes, and they would grasp the basics. But then if I wanted to take it to like the the hardcore guys that I know at Dwarf, I know that they would always be as much analysis paralysis kind of going on, with people trying to weigh up what they should do. And there's nothing quite as funny as watching somebody go through like a pile of stationery cards and go, right, I've got this one, so I discard this one, and then I get this one, so that gives me a +3, but I discard these two different ones, and that gives me a +4, and then I've got that, and that gives me 27, kind of thing. And that's kind of interesting to see. I mean, did that hark back from kind of like Dominion days and stuff like that, kind of like the deck building to use your cards to buy more stuff?
So I mean, certainly took an inspiration from that, absolutely. So so what's really interesting is the game sort of escalates as well. So you start off on Monday on the first round, and you've probably just got like sort of 5+1 attacks in your hand. But then as you progress through the week or the rounds, your decision trees become slightly wider, depending on which like sort of strategies you go down. And so, like you say, come Friday, you could be playing sort of 10 cards or whatever, rather than just the 5 you start off with.
And I mean, going forward, I mean the games. I mean, you've the game's now on Amazon, so there's a presence online. You're still I'm still hearing very, very positive things. What's next for Mr. David Newton then?
Well, I'll be at the UK Games Expo, so I'll have a stall in the summer. So I'll be selling and demoing there. I've got another couple of games that I'm playtesting at the moment, that I'm working on. One of which is much more developed than the other. So I'm in sort of early playtesting and sort of middle playtesting stages of 2 games that I'm working on at the moment. So yeah.
Are they of a similar kind of ilk to Temp Worker Assassins, or have you pushed yourself to do something completely different?
One is entirely different, and one is has similar mechanics, but done in a different way. So there's an element of resource management and an element of board building and a few other things. So I don't want to say too much on that one yet, but
it's like be quiet or I'll staple you. Pretty much.
I mean, are you gonna I mean, are you going to bring Adam back for these ones? Or are you going to go for I mean, I suppose you don't know until you... I guess you don't know until you kind of know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his work commitments are. I mean, obviously Adam would be my first choice. He's a joy to work with, and he's a fabulous artist. So, but it's too early to start that. I need to get all the balancing right and the play testing, and get all the rules nailed down before I start ordering art and start working with an artist.
And that's cool. I mean, it would just be interesting. It'd just be interesting for me. It'll be interesting to see what David did next. I think at the end of the day. I mean, do you get with it now? You mentioned earlier on you were kind of catching up on the Christmas stuff. Is there anything that you've seen about at the moment that you'd maybe like to kind of dip into that's kind of out there? That you'd like to kind of have a shot of yourself as well. Come 2017, we seem to still be containing the kind of the steamroller of games, or seem to be increasing. Is there anything that you've seen that you'd like to have a shot of?
What do you mean, a new game to play on, or? Yeah.
Anything that you're coveting at the moment?
I've backed a few games on Kickstarter that look quite interesting. Mintworks and Gnomes and Associates I've recently backed. So, I've backed. There was one game, Subterra.
Yes, we know all about Subterra.
Oh, do you? Yeah. So that was I saw that at the Women's Lair at the Expo, and so I backed that as well. And that looked quite interesting.
I'm gonna actually probably be. We've been doing little kind of mini episodes with Peter every week now for the last so we've been doing one every week of the campaign. Just as a quick plug for people that haven't been hearing, we call it's Quick Start for the Kickstart. So it's just getting Peter's thoughts on a week by week basis, because at the moment Subterra is doing ridiculous things on Kickstarter just now.
I look at it and there's like another 5 stretch goals or something like that, and graphic novels and lots of things. It looks really exciting.
I think his next one is he was talking about in the last one he was talking about heading for 200k, and you're just like, well, wait, what?
Good luck to him. I hope he does it.
I know it'll be quite cool. I mean, is Kickstarter for you? Is that kind of the way forward? Is that the kind of the direction you're gonna have to take for the next couple of projects then?
I don't know if it's I have to. I think Kickstarter is a force for good. It allows independent game designers to bring an idea to an audience that will enjoy it. It raises enough capital so you can do a first print run, and obviously I'd love to work with another big games company, but I really like the fact that anybody can take an idea and with the help of the community can make it happen. So I think it's a really truly amazing thing.
I don't know if you had that experience when you were doing Temp Worker Assassins. Did you get help from the community when you were kind of looking for advice and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a few nice sort of Facebook groups that are around on Kickstarter games and everything like that. And when I first started out, they gave me sort of good ideas about suppliers and how to get advice and how to do testing and things like that. So it's a really nice community that really does help everyone. It's really good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's and it continually seems to be growing, and it's so encouraging, because I think you get people who move from having a slight idea that they maybe want to do something to actually going, right, I'm going to do it, because if I do it, I can always ask all these people, what shall I do right, and what could I be doing kind of wrong as well, just to kind of get over any kind of potential bumps. For those who have listened tonight and are sitting on and are thinking about picking up Temp Worker Assassins, and I gave the worst potential sales pitch either, that there's probably going to be a kind of a shattered ruler heading my way, how would you describe it? What would you say to people that have said, "Oh, this sounds interesting," and there's been some good stuff said about it? What would you say as the creator to people out there who are curious about Temp Worker Assassins and why they should pick up a copy?
Yeah, no thanks. It's it's a really fun sort of light-hearted game with that combines sort of deck building and worker placement. The game's entirely modular, so no two games are alike. You get to throw compact disc shurikens at Titanfall zombies, and, things like that. So it plays 2 to 4 players, and it's under an hour. It's like I say, it's a fun game with many different setups. So yeah.
And it's available through Amazon at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, through Amazon, absolutely. Yeah. So like I say, I think it's on Prime as well, so you get free delivery and all that business.
There you go, and you can order it today, and you can have it sitting there tomorrow, and we shall put we'll put a link in the show notes as well, because why not? Because I've played it, I like the game, I can't help it. It's I'm trying to be objective here, or is it subjective? I don't care. But it's a good fun game. For people who have listened tonight and want to keep an eye on what you're up to, what you're going to be up to in the future, how do they keep a track of you on the interwebs?
So I've got a Facebook page. So you just search for Temp Worker Assassins on Facebook. That's mainly where I do most of my updates. There's also a website, tempworkerassassins.com.
Okay.
But like I say, I mainly post on keep everybody updated on Facebook rather than the website. But there's if anybody wants to learn like the rules, all the rules are on the website, and as well as example art and how to play videos and that sort of thing.
And you're on Twitter as well?
Yeah, at TW Assassins.
There you go.
Brilliant. Okay. If people want to keep an eye on what we're up to, and I really don't see why you should, after tonight's rambling, you can find us anywhere by searching for We're Not Wizards. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, but we have no videos to speak of whatsoever, but we thought it would just be nice to set up there and see what happens. You can also email us on magic@we'renotwizards.com or .co.uk. There's only a couple of things left to do. The first thing is to thank you very, very much for your time this evening, David.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always fascinating to hear somebody's story, how they got from being kind of playing cardboard to creating cardboard, and this has been no different. So really, really, again, just thank you for your time. Of course, the other thing to remember is that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, David?
No.
Absolutely not. And I've got a drawer full of slightly sharpened pencils for any wizards out there.
Yeah, they don't seem to like that. Right?
No, they definitely don't seem to like that. Or beard trimmers, or tearing up magic cards, which is always a good thing to happen in my book. But again, all that's left to say is goodbye. So it's a goodbye from David.
Goodbye.
And it is a goodbye from me. Stay safe, watch what's in your pockets, and keep an eye on the zombie typing away near your desk at work. And until next time, goodbye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.